When the gods begin to fade, it does not happen with thunder first. It happens softly. A lamp burns lower. A garland loses fragrance. A king of heaven discovers, a little too late, that splendor can slip through his fingers like water. And far beyond the bright courts, under a white horizon that seems to have no end, an ocean waits with nectar hidden in its depths. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing on the shore before the Mahabharata has even begun, before the princes, before the dice, before the conch shells cry across Kurukshetra. The world is younger here. It still feels damp from creation, as if the first rains have only just passed over the skin of the universe. The air is cool, but not cold. It touches your face with a strange softness. No salt. This is not the sea you know. This is the Kshirasagara, the ocean of milk, pale and endless, luminous even in darkness. Above you, the night is immense. Stars hang over the waters like patient witnesses. They do not flicker much. They watch. The moon has not yet climbed high, and so the horizon is a band of pearl grey light, smooth and quiet, except it is not quiet at all. If you stand still, very still, you can hear the ocean breathing. Long inhalation, long release. The waves fold over themselves with a whispering sound, thick and velvety, as though foam and silk have somehow become the same thing. A breeze moves inland and brings the scent of lotus ponds, wet stone, and storm water waiting somewhere just beyond sight. Behind you are groves, dark with tamala and kadamba. Before you is brightness without shore. Your feet sink slightly into cool sand. Fine grains cling to your ankles. The hem of your cotton cloth stirs in the wind. Somewhere farther down the coast, temple bells ring from a shrine, so old its stones seem to have grown there naturally. The sound travels thin and silver through the night, then fades, and still the water keeps breathing. You are not alone on this shore. No one has called an assembly yet. No drums have sounded. No banners are raised. But the world is already leaning toward something vast. You can feel it in the heaviness of the air, in the way the sky seems to wait, in the uneasy hush that comes just before a monsoon breaks, when even birds grow thoughtful and peacocks stop showing off for a moment. Out beyond the pale swells lie secrets no hand has touched. Treasures, medicines, wonders, things that shine, things that burn, things that bless, things that test the heart of whoever reaches for them. And among them, deeper than pearl, deeper than coral, deeper than the roots of mountains, rests Amrita, the nectar, the draught that can steady what is failing. The devas need it. Even now, in the high cities of light, in halls jeweled with crystal and gold, something delicate is fraying. Their radiance has begun to dim at the edges. Crowns still gleam. White parasols still sway. Conches still sound at dawn. But if you looked closely, you would see it. The brightness no longer rises as easily as it once did. A flower wilts faster. A hymn takes more effort. Victory sits less securely on celestial shoulders. The asuras feel it too. Down in their strongholds, where banners snap in hotter winds and ambition is fed like sacred fire, they are growing bolder. Their laughter carries farther. Their armor fits tighter across stronger chests. Their confidence has the clean, dangerous smell of iron after rain. They look toward the heavens and do not lower their eyes. This is the trouble with cosmic balance. The moment one side relaxes, the other begins stretching its arms. And somewhere in the middle, all creation has to deal with the consequences. A soft gust passes over the ocean of milk and lifts the hair from your neck. The water glimmers. For one heartbeat, the whole surface seems to hold starlight inside it, not merely reflect it, as if the ocean has swallowed pieces of heaven and kept them. You taste moisture in the air, not salt, never salt, something sweeter, cleaner, like rainwater collected in a lotus leaf, like fresh milk warmed with cardamom and offered in a shrine before sunrise. The scent is gentle, but it carries depth, ancient depth. It is the smell of a place that remembers the first chants. Far off, near the horizon, clouds gather in a low white belt. They do not roll like ordinary storm clouds. They hover, watchful. Their undersides shine faintly, as though lit from beneath by hidden fire. Now and then, a pale flicker moves inside them. Not lightning exactly, more like thought. Soon the devas will come here. Soon they will arrive wearing their worry beneath their ornaments. Soon proud beings will stand on this very shore and glance, not at friends, but at rivals. Soon hands that have hurled weapons at one another will reach for the same mountain. Soon someone will have the absurd idea of using a serpent as a rope, which is the kind of plan that sounds impressive until you imagine being the serpent. You almost have to admire the confidence or the desperation. They will come because they must, because fading light is still fading light, even when it wears a crown, because power, once shaken, makes every enemy look taller, because Amrita waits in the depths and no one who has heard of it can stop thinking of it. The breeze freshens. It carries the rustle of palm leaves and the low murmur of distant waters meeting hidden stone. Somewhere inland, a night bird gives a single call and then decides that is enough effort for one evening. Wise bird. The age ahead will contain plenty of noise. For now, there is only expectancy. You walk a little farther along the shore. The sand grows cooler where the waves have touched it. Tiny shells, white as jasmine petals, glint by your feet. At the edge of the water, foam gathers in curved lines around your toes and slips away again. The ocean is calm, yet not restful. It feels strong beneath its own quiet, like a great king reclining with one eye open, like a sage who appears asleep but is listening to everything. The stars wheel slowly overhead. You lift your gaze and see the night spread vast and blue-black, stitched with silver. Somewhere among those heavens move the devas in their uncertainty. Somewhere below and beyond, the asuras sharpen hope into hunger. And between them lies this shining expanse, patient and unreadable. The whole world seems to inhale. Soon a garland will fall. Soon a curse will move, like dry thunder through paradise. Soon the immortals will discover how quickly ease can vanish. And then they will come here, to this milk-white sea, under the watch of stars, searching the horizon for rescue, searching the depths for nectar, searching, though they do not yet know it, for treasure, poison, moonlight, a goddess on a lotus, and a test so large it will make even the heavens sweat. So stay here on the shore a little longer. Feel the breeze with no salt in it. Hear the hush of the Kshira Sagara. Watch the white horizon. Something enormous is on its way. It begins, as these things often do, with a gift nobody bothered to honor properly. The air is sweet that day, not sweet like ripe mango or boiling jaggery. Sweeter than that, stranger, the kind of fragrance that seems to arrive before it exists, drifting through heaven's roads on a breeze that carries lotus, rainwater, and the cool hush of dawn. You can almost taste it on your tongue. And through that perfume comes Durvasa. He does not arrive like a courtier. He does not glide in with musicians or send word ahead or wait for anyone to be ready. He wanders as he pleases, wrapped in bark cloth and silence and sudden storms of temper. His hair is wild. His eyes are bright. Ash clings to his skin. He looks like the sort of holy man who has gone so far into austerity that ordinary comfort has become a rumor, which, for everyone around him, is not exactly relaxing. He has in his hands a garland, not an ordinary wreath of flowers strung for a festival arch. This one is living fragrance, white blossoms and pale gold petals woven with such care that they seem almost to breathe. Bees follow it, drunk and devoted. The blossoms do not wilt in the heat. They carry the presence of grace itself, the kind that enters a place and makes even pride pause for a moment. Durvasa has received it from a celestial maiden. He carries it as if it matters, because it does. Now the road opens, and another splendor approaches. Indra is coming. You hear him before you see him. Bells, harness chains, the soft thunder of enormous feet, a low murmur from attendants clearing the way, trying very hard to look serene while fussing over details. Heaven may be eternal, but protocol still loves a commotion. Then he appears in all his brightness. Indra, lord of the Devas, king of the shining ones, rider of Airavata. His ornaments flash, his crown catches light from impossible directions. Silk moves around him like liquid sun. He is victory after a successful campaign, monsoon after drought, a ruler so used to receiving reverence that he wears it like another layer of jewelry. And beneath him, huge as a moving hill, is Airavata, white, brilliantly white, not the dusty white of temple walls in summer, but the deep, luminous white of moonlight on water. 4 tusks curve from his face. His skin smells faintly of rain and river mist. Each step lands with patient strength. If a cloud had decided to become an elephant and then developed opinions, it might look like this. You are there at the roadside when Durvasa lifts the garland. For one breath, everything could still go well. The sage offers the flowers to Indra as a blessing, as honor, as something received from holiness and meant to be treated with care, not tucked aside, not half-noticed, not used like a decorative afterthought. Indra takes it, and because he is radiant, because he is triumphant, because he has probably accepted 10,000 offerings without breakfast, he does not stop long enough to understand what rests in his hands. He smiles, he accepts, he moves on, carelessly. There is the mistake. Instead of placing the garland on his own head, or holding it to his heart, or giving it the reverence that sacred things require, he sets it on Airavata's head, casually, almost absently, like a man slipping a flower onto a standard because both hands are busy being magnificent. Airavata endures this for one irritated heartbeat. Then the elephant twitches. Perhaps the blossoms tickle. Perhaps the bees are too interested. Perhaps Airavata, being an elephant and therefore a creature of sound practical judgment, has no desire to wear a floral crown for anyone's convenience. His trunk lifts, the garland slips, he flings it down, it falls into the road, the flowers strike dust. And then, because insult apparently likes to make sure everyone understands it, One broad pale foot comes down near it. Petals crush. Fragrance bursts upward, thick and wounded, mixing with churned dust and the warm smell of elephant hide. You can smell it clearly now. Divine perfume and earth, worship and carelessness, heaven and mud in the same breath. Durvasa stops walking. That is the true beginning. The breeze seems to thin around him. The attendants go still. Even the jingling harness on Airavata quiets. You know the kind of silence that comes before summer lightning when the birds vanish and leaves hang motionless. It is like that, only drier, sharper. Durvasa looks at the garland in the dust. Then he looks at Indra. He does not need to shout immediately. That would almost be kinder. His anger gathers first, drawing itself tight as a bowstring. His face hardens. His eyes burn with the clean, terrible force of someone who has spent years mastering himself and can therefore unleash fury with precision. When it comes, it lands like dry thunder. He tells Indra exactly what he has done. Not merely dropped flowers, not merely slighted a passing ascetic. He has dishonored grace. He has met a sacred gift with vanity. He has become so wrapped in his own splendor that he no longer recognizes the presence of blessing when it is placed directly in his hands. The words scour the air. Indra dismounts quickly then, too quickly. The movement has panic in it. A little late for dignity now. He folds his hands. He tries to calm the sage. He offers apology after apology. One can imagine the attendants silently wishing the ground would open and swallow them in a neat, orderly manner. But Durvasa is not soothed. Once his anger begins, it has the force of a river breaking a bank. He curses Indra, not with fire from the sky, not with a bolt through the chest, nothing so immediate. That would be almost merciful. No, Durvasa chooses something slower. He strips away prosperity. He speaks an ending over abundance. He says that because Indra failed to honor what was sacred, the glory of the Devas will leave them. Their radiance will fade. Their strength will ebb. Their fortune will dry up like a pond under a pitiless sun. The curse settles over heaven before anyone fully feels it. That is the unnerving part. Nothing explodes. No palace collapses. Airavata still stands there, large and slightly unrepentant. Indra still shines. The banners still lift in the high celestial wind. If you had arrived a moment later, you might have thought this was simply another tense encounter between a king and a famously difficult sage. But the words have already gone in. And words spoken by such a man do not miss. Durvasa leaves them there. He turns and walks on, bark cloth moving around his lean frame, matted hair catching the strange light. No one stops him. No one dares. The bees, deprived of their garland, drift after lingering sweetness. The road remains. The dust settles over crushed petals. Indra stands very still. Even heaven can feel embarrassment. It has a temperature, warm cheeks, tight throat, the specific misery of realizing too late that the thing you treated lightly was the only thing in the room that mattered. For a while, nothing seems different. That is how decline enters, quietly. The first changes are small enough to deny. In Amaravati, the city of the gods, lamps still burn in crystal halls, but their flames no longer stand so tall. Golden cornices still gleam, but less fiercely. The pools remain full of lotus, though a few petals close sooner at dusk. Musicians strike the same notes. Dancers turn in the same circles. Courtiers smile with all their polished ease. Yet something has gone out of the air. You can feel it if you stand in the corridors at twilight. The marble under your bare feet is still cool, but not as alive. The incense curls upward, carrying sandalwood and blue lotus, but the scent disperses too quickly. Garlands brought fresh in the morning droop by afternoon. It is as if a faint invisible hand keeps passing over everything, taking just a little brightness each time. Indra notices. Of course, he notices. At first, he does what proud rulers always do when trouble is still small enough to insult them. He pretends not to. He holds court. He rides out. He keeps his chin lifted and his jewels in place. He sits beneath white umbrellas and hears petitions while trying not to look toward the lamp flames. But the curse is patient. Days pass, the devas begin to tire, not dramatically. No one collapses in the middle of a hymn. No trumpet sounds an official announcement that heaven is having a difficult week. The change is more intimate than that, a missing edge, a softness where strength used to be. Warriors who once stood like sharpened spears now lean, only slightly, on pillars of pearl. Their wreaths slide askew. Their laughter comes late. You are there in the audience hall when one of the great banners fails to lift. It should have streamed proudly from its high golden pole, snapping in the scented air. Instead, it hangs, half limp, the embroidered edge stirring only enough to look embarrassed. A servant glances up, frowns, adjusts the knots, and steps back. Nothing improves. Another day, one of the celestial gardens loses its impossible sheen. The parrots are still green, the champaka still blooms, bees still nose into jasmine. But the leaves are not as lustrous. The fruit is slower to ripen. A breeze passes, and instead of music, there is only the dry shiver of foliage needing rain. The devas begin speaking more quietly among themselves. Agni's flame flickers lower than it should. Vayu's gusts come unevenly. Varuna stares too long into his own waters. Even the horses in the heavenly stables seem less eager, stamping without their old confidence, steam rising from their nostrils in the cool before dawn. And always there is this creeping loss of radiance. It clings to everything. Crowns look heavier. Armor fits less like glory and more like metal. The jeweled women of the heavens still move like song, but the song has become tired in the middle. Anklets chime across polished floors, and somehow the sound does not carry as far. You can smell the change before you can name it. Less blossom, more lamp smoke, less fresh lotus, more spent wick and old silk stored too long in carved chests. Even Airavata dims. That great white mountain of an elephant no longer gleams with stormlight. He is still magnificent, still enormous, still fully capable of deciding that garlands are beneath him. But his hide has lost that impossible sheen. His keepers rub fragrant oils into his skin. They wash him with scented water. They hang bells and polished ornaments across his chest. He endures all of this with the long-suffering expression of a creature who did not ask to become the symbol of a diplomatic disaster. You almost feel for him. Almost. Indra feels the curse most cruelly in the places where he used to feel safest. His throne room, his weapons, his own body. The thunderbolt is still in his hand, but it no longer answers like a friend who knows your strength. The storm clouds gather more slowly. The old certainty that his will can command heaven and strike fear into enemies begins to fray. It is a terrible thing to reach for power and feel it arrive reluctantly. And outside the shining realms, the asuras notice, not all at once, but they notice. They are always watching after all. Rivals tend to keep excellent records of one another's bad days. A fortress left less guarded, a messenger delayed, a raid that should have been repelled, but instead drags on longer than expected. The balance shifts by grains, then by handfuls. The asuras grow bolder. Whispers move through shadowed halls and iron strongholds. Their warriors test the borders of heaven and find resistance thinner than before. Not gone, not yet, but thinner. The old blazing confidence of the devas no longer meets them like a wall of sunfire. There are gaps now, pauses, fatigue. Indra sends forces, victories come, but they cost more than fewer victories come. In the celestial courts, the old easy splendor begins to feel like memory reenacted by tired actors. The cups are still full of soma. The music still plays. Apsaras still dance, bracelets flashing in lamplight. Yet the delight is strained. Someone is always glancing toward the doors. Someone is always listening for troubling news under the Vina strings. You stand beside a colonnade one evening and watch the sky of heaven turn from gold to violet. This should be beautiful. It is beautiful, and still unease moves through it like a stain in water. The clouds do not blush as brightly. The stars rise, but slower, as if they too are unsure. Conches sound from distant terraces, thin and formal. In the gardens, petals fall too soon. A swan crosses a lily pool, leaving dark ripples in milk-pale water. The whole world seems to be holding itself together out of habit. Indra remembers the crushed garland. He cannot stop remembering it. That is his punishment too, not only loss, but clarity. The exact moment, the smell of divine blossoms broken into dust, the sight of Durvasa's face, the swift, lazy motion of his own hand, placing the gift on Airavata, as if holiness could be delegated. A single careless act, and now all of heaven lives inside its echo. There are attempts, of course, to reverse the turn. More offerings, more rites, more care in every visible ceremony. Priests chant until their throats dry. Ghee hisses in sacrificial fire. Sandal paste is freshly ground on stone. Lotus petals pile in brass trays. The devas adorn shrines with flowers so thick their perfume makes the air dense and sleepy. But ritual done in fear feels different. Even you can sense it. The smoke rises straight, then wavers. The bells ring, but the sound does not linger. The prayers are correct. Correctness is not the same as grace. One morning, a row of hanging lamps along a palace corridor goes out one by one before dawn. No gust causes it. No servant blunders past. They simply dim, flicker, fade. A guard notices first, then another. Soon there is a line of uneasy faces staring at the darkened bronze cups, each with its little thread of smoke curling upward. Someone rushes for fresh oil. Someone mutters a mantra. Someone says it is nothing. No one believes that. The celestial physicians begin seeing it too. Strength draining, vitality thinning, a shine leaving skin, a heaviness entering limbs. No wound to point at, no poison to draw out, no fever to cool. Just decline. The kind that makes a room full of powerful beings suddenly sound like tired relatives at the end of a wedding feast. And pride, unfortunately, is not a medicine. Indra's court grows tense. Some urge force, some counsel patience, some insist the curse will pass. Others avoid saying the word curse at all, as if naming the fire might make it hotter. The king listens, but his mind keeps circling the same bitter truth. This began with disrespect, not a battlefield defeat, not a secret weapon, not some monstrous assault from below, a failure of reverence, a hand too careless with blessing. The heat of that realization is worse than noon on a stone terrace. You can feel it in him. He rides less now, sits more. The jewels at his throat seem colder. His eyes sharpen, then hollow, then sharpen again. He is still lord of the Devas, but kingship is a lonely garment when fortune starts slipping from the seams. Around him, heaven continues to dim. Silk can hide anxiety only so long. Perfume can hide the smell of fading lamps only so long. Music can hide silence only until the musicians start glancing at one another between notes. At last, the losses grow impossible to mask. The Devas are not merely worried, they are weakening. The Asuras press harder. The great balance between realms tilts. The old abundance of heaven, once taken for granted, as if it would last forever simply because it had lasted a long time, now trembles. This is the moment when confidence turns to fear. Not panic yet. That comes later. For now, it is the cold recognition that the radiance of the Devas is not endless, and that a curse can do its work as steadily as water-wearing stone. You stand at the edge of a high terrace and look out over Amaravati. Below, palace roofs of gold catch the last light. White stairways fall through flowering gardens. Streams run clear between carved embankments. Swans drift over lotus pools. From a distance, everything still appears untouched. Perfect, eternal. Then a wind moves through the city. The banners do not rise, they sag, just slightly, enough. And in that small defeated motion, all of heaven understands that something precious has already been lost, and more will follow unless help is found beyond their own failing strength. The night gathers around the jeweled halls. Lamps are trimmed. Guards take their posts. Priests whisper before shrines. Indra does not sleep easily. Far off, beyond the brightness of the celestial city, the roads between worlds wait in silence. Soon the Devas will have to leave their own splendor behind and go seeking aid. Soon pride will have to walk. But for now, stay here a moment longer. In the hush after ceremony, in the fading scent of flowers crushed into dust, in the dim gold corridors where even the immortals have begun to look over their shoulders, the curse has spoken. The glow is going, and heaven, for the first time in a long while, feels the chill of needing help. By the time the garland's fragrance is gone, the gods have discovered something deeply unpleasant. They can, in fact, become desperate. Not all at once. That would almost be easier. No, it happens the slow way. A banner that once snapped bright over Amaravati now hangs limp in still air. A lamp burns lower than it should. Music in the celestial halls loses its sparkle, as if the notes themselves are tired. The gold on the pillars still gleams, but with a washed-out, rainy season sort of shine. And the Devas notice. Of course they notice. They are used to being radiant. They are used to walking into a room and making the room feel fortunate. When that starts slipping, even a little, the skin between the shoulders goes tight. You can feel it in the hallways. Servants move more quietly. Courtiers stop laughing quite so loudly. The perfumes of sandal and champaka linger in the air, but beneath them sits something new and unwelcome. Worry, thin as smoke, impossible to ignore once you catch it. Indra tries, for a while, to continue as though nothing has changed. He sits beneath white parasols. He wears the crown. Airavata still stamps and tosses his great head. The court still bows. But every day, something small fails him. A command does not carry its old force. A weapon feels heavier in the hand. A victory that should have been easy comes late and leaves him sweating. Then the Asuras begin pressing harder. down in their shadowed strongholds, where iron glows and war drums roll like distant monsoon thunder, they hear what has happened. They smell weakness the way wolves smell a storm-broken deer. Suddenly, there are raids where there had been quiet, challenges where there had been caution, boldness where there had been only resentment, and the divas, for all their ornaments and excellent posture, begin losing ground. 3 days pass, nothing improves. Then 7, then more. The gardens of heaven still bloom, but they do it with a faint, exhausted look, as if each lotus had to think twice before opening. The swans on the pools glide in circles under a dimmer sky. Even the breeze through the palace corridors feels different. Less cool, less alive. You stand in one of those long corridors of cloud and pearl and hear no laughter at all. Only footsteps, only the rustle of silk, only the low murmur of worried gods trying not to sound worried. At last, they gather. Indra comes first because shame arrives early when you are in charge. Agni comes with his fire banked low and red. Vayu moves restlessly, unable to keep still. Varuna smells of deep water and storm. The Ashvins, bright twins, usually quick with smiles, are solemn now. Surya seems veiled, Soma is pale, and with them come many others, faces you know from hymns, hands that have poured blessings into worlds, eyes now ringed with fatigue. No one says the obvious thing immediately. No one likes being the first to admit disaster. But disaster, like an unpaid debt, has a way of sitting down at the table whether invited or not. Indra finally speaks. Not loudly. He tells them what all of them already know. Their strength is fading. The curse has taken hold. Their enemies are rising. If they continue as they are, heaven itself will be taken from them, piece by piece. It is not a stirring speech. It does not need to be. Truth lands hard enough on its own. The hall is very still after that. You can almost hear the oil in the lamps. One by one, the devas turn their thoughts toward the only refuge left when pride has been shaken loose. They must go to Vishnu. The decision settles over the assembly like evening light. No one cheers. No one pretends this is glorious. It is simply necessary. So they leave. And there is something quietly startling in that. Gods abandoning their own jeweled halls. Celestial guardians stepping down from terraces of gold and crystal to seek help like weary travelers. No procession, no triumph, only urgency, wrapped in dignity as neatly as possible. You go with them, out beyond Amaravati's shining courts, past pavilions where garlands dry at the edges, past ponds full of lotuses closing for no reason anyone likes. The floor beneath your feet changes from cool gem-inlaid stone to pale cloud, then to something less like a floor and more like a road made from light remembering itself. The sky stretches wide above you, not blue, not black, something deeper and stranger, layered with silver currents and drifting fields of star mist. Far away, constellations burn like watchfires. Between worlds, the air tastes clean and thin, touched with lotus, rainwater, and the faint metallic scent that comes before lightning. No one talks much. What would they say? When immortals get tired, they do it with a very particular heaviness. They are not made for doubt. Doubt sits poorly on them. It rubs like armor worn backward. Indra walks at the front, though not with his usual swagger. There is no room for swagger now. His shoulders are still proud, but they are carrying something denser than jewels. Behind him comes Agni, dim at the edges. Vayu moves ahead, then doubles back, then races sideways through the clouds, all restless energy with nowhere useful to go. Varuna is silent as a sealed sea. You can hear anklets, armor clasps, the whisper of ropes against vapor, and under all of it, that soft, endless sound of the universe breathing. They pass through regions where sages meditate in suspended stillness, wrapped in their own light, through reaches where Gandharvas stop singing to watch them go, through broad, quiet expanses where even the stars seem to hold back their shine, as if out of respect for the mood. It is a long walk, long enough for embarrassment to wear off, long enough for fear to become simpler. At first, the devas are ashamed, then anxious, then merely tired. By the time they have crossed bright rivers of sky and valleys of folded cloud, they look less like lords of creation and more like men who have spent too many nights awake, waiting for bad news to arrive. A strange tenderness enters them. One helps another over a broken ridge of crystal air. One offers water from a shining vessel. One adjusts the loosened clasp on a companion's shoulder guard. When splendor fades, small kindnesses become easier to see. Ahead lies the region where Vishnu rests. You feel it before you see it. The worlds grow quieter, not empty, not dead. Quiet the way a temple is quiet before dawn, when incense from last night still lingers, and every stone seems to be listening. The wind slows, the colors soften. Even Vayu calms down, which may be the surest sign in all creation that something extraordinary is near. The light becomes gentle, milk-white, moon-soft. And there, beyond a veil of luminous mist, spreads the Kshirasagara again, the ocean of milk, vast and pale under a sky of waiting stars. Its surface does not crash like earthly water. It heaves in long, slow breaths. Silver ripples spread, then vanish. Foam glows faintly at the edges like crushed pearls. The breeze that comes off it is saltless and cool. You smell lotus, sandalwood, and the sweetness of night-blooming flowers opening somewhere just out of sight. The devas stop. Before them, upon the endless serpent Ananta, reclines Vishnu. No one who sees that sight forgets it. Ananta coils in measureless loops upon the shining water, each ring vast as a horizon, each hood lifted like a royal canopy. Jewels gleam on the serpents' heads, blue and green and crimson, but softly, as if even gems know better than to shout here. And upon that living couch rests Vishnu, dark as a monsoon cloud, luminous as the heart of a sapphire. Lakshmi is near him, serene and watchful. His eyes are half closed, but not with sleep exactly, more like perfect awareness made effortless. One hand rests easy, another holds the conch, another the discus, another the lotus. Everything about him says the same impossible thing. All this turmoil, all this fear, all this rushing and grasping and nearly losing heaven itself. And still there is a center where nothing has slipped out of place. You stand on the shore and feel your own breathing slow. Even the devas, ragged with worry, seem to remember how to be still. Then they bow, all of them, crowns lowered, weapons lowered, voices lowered. It is not the bow of ceremony. It is the bow of those who have run out of other plans. Indra steps forward. He tells Vishnu what has happened. The sage, the garland, the insult, the curse, the fading of their strength, the rise of the asuras, the dread now pressing against heaven's gates. He does not excuse himself much. That part is over. He speaks plainly because plain speech is what remains when pride has been scorched off. The others add their griefs. Agni says his flames are not what they were. Vayu says resistance meets him everywhere. Varuna speaks of boundaries weakening. All of them, in their own way, admit the same thing. They cannot restore themselves alone. The ocean listens. Ananta does not move. At last Vishnu opens his eyes fully. The change is small. It feels enormous. Light seems to gather without brightening. The stars sharpen. The air itself becomes attentive. When he looks at them, it is with the calm of someone who saw this trouble coming long before anyone else dropped the garland into the dust. He does not scold. That almost makes it worse. He tells them their strength can be renewed, but not by complaint, and not by waiting for the curse to grow bored and wander off. If they want Amrita, the nectar of immortality, they must bring it forth from the ocean of milk itself. It is hidden there, deep under white waters and ancient things. At that, a little hope stirs. Then Vishnu continues. To draw it out, he says, the ocean must be churned, not by the Devas alone, by Devas and Asuras together. The silence after that is immediate and almost impressive. Even the breeze seems to pause. You can feel every god on that shore thinking the same thought. Absolutely not. Indra blinks. Agni's dim fire gives one irritated flicker. Vayu makes a sound like wind hitting a closed door. It is a fair reaction. Work with the Asuras. Invite them into a shared enterprise. Smile and cooperate while standing elbow to elbow with enemies who would very much enjoy seeing you flattened under a mountain. It is the kind of divine instruction that makes everyone briefly wish for a simpler problem, like a dragon or a drought or an inconvenient prophecy. But Vishnu is not finished. He tells them this must be done with patience and skill. They are to approach the Asuras not with threats, but with proposals. Promise them a share in the nectar. Join forces for the labor. Use Mount Mandara as the churning rod. Use the great serpent Vasuki as the rope. Put the mountain into the ocean. Pull in turn until the hidden treasures rise. Treasure. Poison too, though that part hangs quiet and unspoken for now, like thunder beyond a hill. The Devas exchange glances, some sharp, some skeptical, some frankly miserable. You can practically hear the thoughts moving behind their polished faces. Promise the Asuras a share. Stand near them while a cosmic operation involving a mountain and a serpent unfolds. Trust them not to snatch everything the moment it appears. This plan has the cheerful simplicity of asking fire and dry grass to cooperate professionally. Vishnu sees the hesitation. He tells them not to fear the difficulty. He will be with them. He will guide what follows. Timing will matter. Restraint will matter. So will appearances. Not every smile must be sincere to be useful. Not every alliance must be born of affection. That, at least, sounds more practical. The Devas bow again, though more slowly now, because they understand. And because they do not understand at all, which is often the beginning of obedience in matters this large. The audience ends, not abruptly. Nothing near Vishnu feels abrupt, but the moment of stillness gives way to movement again. The Devas step backward from the serpent couch, from the moonlit shore, from that great center of calm. They carry with them instructions heavy as iron and slippery as oil. Work with the Asuras. Promise what you must. Churn the ocean. Bring up the nectar. Simple, ridiculous, necessary. As they depart, the quiet region around Vishnu seems to cling to them for a while. Their breathing stays slower. Their steps find rhythm. Even Indra's face steadies. But the further they travel from the ocean of milk, the more the old tensions return. By the time Amaravati's faded spires are visible again, strategy has begun. They gather once more in council. This time, The mood is different. Before, they were frightened. Now they are frightened with the task, which is almost the same thing, but somehow easier to carry. Maps of worlds are brought out. Messengers wait. Names are spoken carefully. Who among the asuras is most ambitious? Who can be tempted? Who will demand honor first? Who must be flattered? Who must be allowed to feel he is winning even while walking into a net made of silk and patience? No one enjoys this part. The devas are many things, gracious when they choose, magnificent by habit, brave on good days, but diplomacy with enemies while weakened by a curse? That is a different art entirely. It requires smooth voices over clenched teeth. You can smell heated oil lamps and fresh ink. You can hear bracelets clicking as hands gesture over plans no one loves. At last, it is decided. They will go to the asuras with an offer of partnership, not friendship. No one is drunk enough for that. Partnership, mutual gain, shared labor, shared reward, words polished till they gleam. So once more they travel. This journey is less lonely and far more dangerous. The road toward the Asura's dominions descends through stranger regions where light reddens and the edges of things sharpen. The air grows warmer. The scent changes from lotus and cool water to resin, iron, smoke, and something spiced and fierce. You pass cliffs studded with black stone that shine like wet skin. Caverns breathe heat from within. Banners the color of embers stir in subterranean winds. The Asuras are waiting, not in neat rows. They are not neat people. They gather in strongholds, cut from mountain roots and halls lit by fire bowls taller than men. Their ornaments are heavy, their armor dark, their eyes bright with suspicion, appetite, and amusement. They look at the devas the way gamblers look at rivals arriving late to the table with suddenly polite expressions, which is to say, nobody is fooled for even one heartbeat. Still, custom holds. Seats are offered. Water is brought. Names are spoken. The smiles appear. Ah, the smiles. This is the moment Vishnu had in mind, and it is magnificent in a deeply uncomfortable way. Devas and Asuras facing each other across a chamber bright with gold and flame, every face gracious, every spine straight, every hand close enough to a weapon to be comforting. Everyone is smiling with all their teeth. Indra presents the proposal. The ocean of milk holds Amrita, he says. Too great a treasure for one side alone to obtain. The labor will be immense. Let both factions combine strength. Let mountain and serpent do their part. Let the nectar be brought forth for all. The Asuras listen. Some lean back, amused. Some whisper behind jeweled hands. Some narrow their eyes. Because if your enemy suddenly arrives, talking about cooperation, the first sensible assumption is that there is a trap somewhere under the rug. And they are correct. That does not mean they will refuse. Ambition has its own gravity. The Asura chiefs ask questions, many questions. Why now? Why together? Why should they trust heaven's lords after so many old wars? Why should they haul mountains for a promise poured into the air by weakened gods? Fair questions. Extremely annoying questions, but fair. Indra answers as steadily as he can. He speaks of effort too large for either side alone, of reward beyond measure, of setting rivalry aside for one great undertaking. He does not mention desperation. He certainly does not mention that the devas are in no shape for a prolonged conflict if these negotiations fail. Across from him, the Asuras murmur among themselves. You can hear rings tapping against stone armrests. You can smell incense thick as honey mixed with hot metal. Somewhere deeper in the hall, a drum keeps a slow pulse, as if the fortress itself has a heartbeat. At length, the answer comes. Agreement, cautious, conditional, hungry. The Asuras will join. Of course they will. Immortality has a way of improving everyone's flexibility. So, the pact is made. Not with trust, not with warmth, with calculation, with ceremony, with hands that clasp briefly and release as soon as decency allows. The kind of alliance that would crack if someone breathed on it too hard. And yet it holds, for now. You stand there and feel the strangeness of it. Old enemies about to undertake one impossible labor, side by side. Heaven dimmed, the underworld alert. Somewhere out beyond all these halls, the ocean of milk waiting under the stars. Calm as ever, as if it does not know a mountain is coming. The Devas depart the Asura stronghold with the agreement secured. No one relaxes, that would be foolish, but something has shifted. The road ahead is absurd now, in a specific, practical way. They no longer need merely hope. They must organize, persuade, lift, drag, convince a mountain to travel, convince a serpent to cooperate, keep enemies from becoming enemies too soon. A manageable nightmare, almost comforting. As they move back through the heated passages and out under the broad, strange sky, the scent of smoke thins. Cool air returns in patches. Indra looks ahead, not back. Agni burns a little brighter. Vayu actually laughs once, short and sharp, at the sheer lunacy of what comes next. And honestly, he has a point. Because asking the gods and Asuras to share a cosmic project is difficult enough. Soon, they will have to borrow a mountain, and after that, somehow, persuade a serpent that being stretched around that mountain while everyone yanks on him from opposite sides is an excellent plan, which it absolutely is not. But that comes next. A plan has been agreed upon, which is not the same thing as a plan being easy. Morning spreads over the ocean of milk in long white bands, and already the place feels crowded with intention. The Devas stand in bright ranks, trying to look confident. The Asuras arrive in darker splendor, armored, jeweled, broad-shouldered, and smiling the way crocodiles smile when something waits too close. Between them, the ocean breathes in its slow, moon-pulled way, as if it has seen all this before and is not especially impressed. The air smells of lotus, wet stone, and the sharp mineral scent that comes before a storm. Vishnu's instructions still ring in everyone's mind. They need a mountain for the churning rod. They need a serpent for the rope. They need patience, strength, and at least a temporary willingness not to smash each other's faces in. This last requirement is proving to be the trickiest. So the first task begins. Mount Mandara rises far away, old and forest-covered, its shoulders wrapped in cloud. It is not a modest hill. It is not even one of those mountains that politely stays in the background. Mandara has cliffs veined with ore, caves where lions sleep, waterfalls that spill into fern-dark pools, and trees so tall they look like they're trying to scratch the sky. On its ledges, sages have sat through rains and summers. In its hollows, snakes have coiled through cool moss. Birds with bronze feathers and green throats flash through its branches like pieces of broken sunrise. And now a small army of immortals has come to borrow it. Borrow, of course, is a generous word. You stand in the shadow of Mandara and feel how absurd this really is. The ground is cool, where the mountain keeps the sun away. Resin thickens the air. Somewhere above, monkeys chatter in outrage because strangers in crowns and helmets are suddenly climbing over everything. twigs snap, pebbles skip down steep paths, a deer darts between roots and vanishes like a thought. The devas spread out first, palms against stone, shoulders braced. The asuras do the same from the opposite side, with the energy of men helping only because there is a prize at the end. Gold armlets flash, anklets ring softly against rock. Someone slips immediately on moss and tries to turn it into a dignified crouch. No one comments on it aloud. This is celestial diplomacy. Everyone is pretending not to notice everything. Then they push. Nothing happens, not even a polite wobble. Mandara remains exactly what it has always been. A mountain. Wind moves through cedar branches. A hawk circles once. The silence that follows is thick enough to chew. Then everyone pushes harder. Now roots strain. Stones crack deep below, like muffled thunder. Whole groves shiver. Dust falls in pale veils from ledges high above. From caves and thickets, the mountain's residents begin pouring out in offended confusion. Bears lumber downslope, blinking. Snakes pour from sun-warmed crevices in irritated ribbons. Bright parrots explode from the canopy in green clouds, filling the air with harsh, scandalized cries. Even the vines seem to cling harder, as if hoping the entire mountain might simply refuse. It is working, very slowly, very unwillingly. Mandara groans. That is the only word for it. A sound comes up from the roots of the world, a long grinding complaint that you feel in your knees before you hear in your ears. Trees shudder, earth splits, dark soil rolls back in chunks. The smell changes all at once. Fresh torn roots, damp clay, crushed leaves, old hidden water suddenly open to air. Again they heave. This time the mountain rises a hand's breadth, then more. A cheer breaks out, not graceful, not unified, just a rough burst of relief from hundreds of throats. The devas brighten, the asuras grin, shoulders dig deeper, heels gouge furrows in the slope. Mandara lifts, showering dirt and beetles and pebbles and one very offended porcupine. For a moment, impossible things seem almost manageable. That is usually when the next problem arrives. The mountain is up. No one has fully thought through what comes after that. It turns out uprooting a mountain and transporting a mountain are different skills. The first few steps are chaos. Mandara tilts. Everybody shouts at once, though very few are using words fit for sages. Trees sway so hard, their leaves rain down in green gusts. A boulder the size of a palace door tumbles free and thunders downhill into a stream, sending silver water everywhere. The asuras on one side demand the devas lift higher. The devas insist the asuras are dragging low on purpose. Both accusations are probably true. You can hear metal creak, breath strain, bangles clink, sandals skid, and underneath it all the endless cracking language of stone being moved where stone does not wish to go. A troop of monkeys keeps pace overhead purely to watch this disaster unfold. So they try poles, they try leverage, they wedge whole tree trunks beneath the mass and use them as rollers. That works for perhaps 12 glorious moments. Then the trunks splinter. One spins out and sends 3 proud celestial warriors stumbling backward into a patch of wild turmeric. They come up yellow to the elbows and furious. Still, Mandara moves. It moves through valleys and over ridges with the majestic reluctance of a king carried to a ceremony he did not approve. Its hanging roots trail clumps of earth. Springs broken open by the uprooting pour down its sides in glittering threads. Bees follow the displaced flowers, humming in confused circles. The scent of pine, sandalwood bark, Torn grass and mountain water clings to everything. By noon the heat is punishing. Sweat beads beneath crowns. Silk sticks to skin. Armor grows hot enough to sting. The devas, already weakened from Durvasa's curse, begin to flag. Their faces lose color. Their movements turn uneven. Even the asuras, stronger now and quite pleased about it, start breathing through open mouths. You feel the sun on the back of your neck and the grit of powdered stone under your sandals. Mandara grows heavier with every step. Perhaps it truly does. Mountains are old beings. Maybe it resents this and decides to remind everyone. Maybe everyone is simply tired. Either way, the carrying becomes uglier. Strain turns to shaking. Shaking turns to failure. Hands slip, feet slide, and suddenly the whole borrowed mountain comes crashing down. The earth jumps, trees burst apart beneath the impact. Dust climbs into the air in a huge brown wall. Birds wheel away shrieking. A shockwave rolls through the valley and sends ripples across ponds and trembling through lotus leaves. For one suspended heartbeat, nobody moves. They are all too busy being flattened by surprise. Then groans, coughing, limbs disentangling from vines and each other. One Asura has somehow ended up wearing half a shrub as a shoulder decoration. A diva is wedged in a forked root, glaring as if insult itself might lift him free. Several helmets have gone missing entirely. No one looks divine just now. Everyone looks like laborers after a warehouse collapse. A few of the weaker divas are struck down by the fall and lie still until Vishnu's grace passes over them like cool rain. Breath returns, eyes open. They rise, shaken and humbled, brushing dirt from gold. That steadies the company. It also settles the question of whether they can do this alone. They cannot. So Vishnu, who has watched all this with the calm of one who expected exactly this level of confusion, calls Garuda. The great eagle comes like a storm with feathers. Wind hits first, hot and powerful, flattening grasses and tugging loose cloth into snapping banners. Then shadow, then the vast shape itself, wings wider than city gates, claws bright as polished iron, eyes keen enough to make warriors lower their gaze. When Garuda lands, the sound is like sails filling all at once. The smell of sun-warmed feathers and high cold air cuts through the dust. Mandara, at last, meets something built for carrying impossible things. With strength that makes even the asuras go quiet, Garuda takes the mountain up. Not delicately, not ceremoniously. He lifts it the way a hawk lifts a serpent, with certainty. Roots dangle, waterfalls stream, whole trees tremble on the slopes. Monkeys cling to branches, their opinions on the matter loud and unhelpful. Then Garuda rises. You look up and see a mountain crossing the sky. Its shadow moves over rivers, forests, and towns below. People stop grinding grain, stop drawing water, stop whatever ordinary thing they were doing, and stare. Cattle lift their heads. Children point. Priests forget, mid-mantra, what comes next. Over all of them, vast and dark and impossible, Mandara sails toward the ocean of milk. At the shore, Garuda sets the mountain down with more grace than the gods managed. Though even so, the coast shudders and white spray leaps from the sea. One problem solved. Several remain. The next is Vasuki. Now, if you have never tried to recruit the king of serpents into a hazardous team project, you might imagine this part goes poorly. You would be correct. Vasuki does not live in some handy nearby basket. He must be approached properly. He is ancient, vast, hooded, jeweled, and not especially eager to wrap himself around a mountain. while two hostile armies yank on him from opposite sides. This reluctance is understandable. Still, the nectar waits in the deep. So gods and asuras go to ask. They find him in the serpent realms, where the light is dim and green through stone, and the air smells of damp earth, mineral water, and the faint, sweet smoke of hidden offerings. Jewels glow from walls and ceilings, as if stars had been taught to burrow. Serpents lie coiled on ledges, scales flickering with blue, copper, and gold. At the center rests Vasuki, huge enough that his loops resemble embankments, and his raised hood could shade a courtyard. His eyes are old amber. His breath is slow. When the request is laid before him, he listens in that still reptilian way that makes every speaker suddenly aware of their heartbeat. They explain the danger. They explain the necessity. They explain the Amrita. They explain that his strength is needed. They leave out at first the part where everyone will be hauling on him like dock workers with a stubborn barge. Vasuki is not fooled. His tongue flickers once. That is somehow enough to make several minor divas wish they had brought someone more persuasive. The asuras promise glory. The divas promise honor. Both sides promise gratitude, which is easy to promise before work begins and harder to locate afterward. Vasuki continues to watch them with the expression of a being who has seen many proud creatures volunteer others for discomfort. At last, he agrees. Not eagerly, not happily, but he agrees. A ripple passes through the gathered company. Relief first, then immediate argument, because now comes the truly ridiculous question. Who holds which end? The Serpent King is to be wrapped around Mount Mandara. One side will grasp near his hood and head. The other will take the tail. Already you can feel dignity preparing to leave the room. The asuras, being asuras, want the head. Of course they do. The head is the noble end, the commanding end, the impressive end. It has eyes, it has fangs, it suggests importance. No one marches back to his comrades boasting that he spent the afternoon pulling a cosmic serpent by the tail. The divas hear this and exchange glances. Some are offended, some are relieved. The head is more prestigious, yes. It is also attached to the mouth. Vishnu, smiling faintly, suggests that the asuras should indeed have the honored position. Their pride drinks this down like spiced wine. They swell with satisfaction. They step forward in noisy approval, bracelets clashing, eager hands reaching toward Vasuki's hood. The divas take the tail. No one says much. They simply move into place with the grave politeness of people who suspect the joke has not finished unfolding. You are close enough to hear scales rasp over stone as Vasuki is wound around Mandara. It is a deep, dry sound, like rainless thunder moving through reeds. His body circles the mountain once, twice, many times, each coil tightening. Trees bend beneath him, bark flakes away, small creatures flee down the slopes. Gems on his hood catch the light and scatter it in green and blue sparks over the white sea. The ocean wind cools the sweat on everyone's skin. For a little while, there is only arranging, gripping, adjusting, more adjusting. The line of devas at the tail stretches down one side of the mountain and onto the shore. The asuras gather at the hooded end in proud, muscular ranks. Some wrap the serpent's coils around their wrists for purchase. Some spit into their palms. A few are still pretending this is going to be elegant. It is not. One asura immediately complains that the hood shifts too much. Another insists the devas have taken the easier side. A diva near the rear points out, with saintly calm, that tales are not exactly famous for staying still. An Asura captain tries to organize pulling in rhythm and is ignored by half his own line. A younger Deva, determined to appear heroic, plants his feet dramatically and is yanked forward 3 steps before the work has even begun. Vasuki endures this with the long suffering of a creature who regrets agreeing to anything. You stand on the foamy shore and feel the mood tighten. Saltless spray beads on your arms. The sand is packed firm underfoot, cold where waves have just withdrawn. Mandara towers above, dark and green against the milk-bright sea. Around it, immortals fidget, boast, stretch aching shoulders, and avoid eye contact with rivals they may soon need to trust with timing. Trust is too generous a word. Coordination, then. A signal is given. They pull, nothing happens. Again. A tremor shivers through the coils. Pebbles patter down the mountain's side. Foam sways outward in white rings. The great serpent tightens instinctively, and half the front line of Asuras lurches together like a badly parked chariot team. Somewhere down the Deva side, someone loses a sandal to the surf. It vanishes at once. No one stops for it. History is full of sacrifice. The third pull bites. Mandara shifts. The sound is enormous. Stone scrapes. Water slaps harder at the shore. Vasuki's scales drag over bark and rock with a hiss like 10,000 arrows passing through grass. The mountain lurches a fraction, then another. The ocean heaves around its base, disturbed and offended. White foam thickens. The shore trembles. And because difficult things enjoy becoming more difficult, there is immediately fresh disagreement about pace. The Asuras yank too hard, trying to prove superior strength. The Devas counter too late. The mountain jerks. Vasuki's body tightens and snaps back. Several warriors on both sides are nearly flung off their feet. One lands, sitting in the surf with all the dignity of a dropped melon. Another gets his own garland tangled in the serpent's coil and spends a humiliating stretch of time trying to free himself without drawing notice. There is notice. There is so much notice. Even some of the sages watching from a safe distance cannot entirely suppress their smiles. Still, they continue. Pull, brace, haul, slide, recover. The rhythm comes in pieces, then slips, then comes again. Breath clouds, muscles knot. Anklets and weapons jangle in clumsy accompaniment. Overhead, gull-like birds circle and cry above the strange new activity at the cosmic sea. You can feel the labor now in your own shoulders, just watching them. The repetition has a way of entering the body. Pull, release, pull, release. A giant shared effort, half cooperation, half competition, all of it balanced on annoyance and necessity. The smell of trampled grass from Mandara mingles with serpent musk, ocean mist, and the hot copper scent of exertion. Hours seem to gather without moving. Yet slowly, very slowly, a working order emerges. Not friendship, nothing so delicate, but a kind of rough alignment. The Asuras stop trying to win every single pull. The Devas stop flinching at every insult. They begin to move as two sides of one impossible machine. That is when Vasuki starts breathing harder. At first, it's only a deeper expansion under the hands of those gripping near his hood. Then a heat builds, then steam. His great chest swells and contracts around the mountain, and from his mouth comes a harsh, hot vapor, carrying the smell of venom and scorched herbs. It rolls directly over the Asuras at the head. Their satisfaction dims, eyes water, crowns tilt. Fine mustaches droop in the damp heat. The honored position has become considerably less charming. Some cough and try to disguise it as a warlike grunt. Others shift their grip and discover there is nowhere better to stand. The devas at the tail, meanwhile, continue pulling with expressions of grave innocence. No one laughs loudly. Several are laughing inwardly with tremendous devotion. The sun leans westward. Light turns honey-colored on the mountain's broken roots and the white backs of waves. Shadows lengthen across the shore. The great assembly is covered in dust, salt, leaf fragments, streaks of clay, and the stubborn look shared by people who have committed too much effort to admit this might have been a terrible idea. And yet, there is grandeur in it too. You see it when the lines pull together and Mandara turns a little more, when the ocean answers with a deep rolling sound from its hidden chambers, when spray catches late sunlight and hangs in the air like shattered pearls, when devas and asuras, who would usually rather trade weapons than glances, lean with the same strain in their backs and the same fire in their lungs. For one long suspended stretch, the world narrows to effort. Then the mountain shifts too far. Its base, never properly anchored, skids on the slick bed beneath the white water. Mandara tilts, first slightly, then enough that everyone feels it. A murmur runs through both lines. Grip tightens, orders are shouted, foam surges around the roots. Birds burst from the trees, still clinging to the mountain's sides, wheeling into the deepening gold of evening. The sea, which has tolerated much already, gives way beneath the weight. Mandara begins to sink. At first it is almost graceful, then alarm spreads. The lower slopes vanish into churning milk-white water. Coils of Vasuki slide. Both sides stagger as the angle changes. Stones tumble. Whole groves on the mountain shiver and dip. The sound coming up from below is no longer scraping stone, but a swallowing rush, deep and terrible and final. You feel it in your stomach before anyone says it. The mountain is going down. All day they have uprooted, hauled, negotiated, wrapped, hauled again, sweated, argued, inhaled serpent breath, and pretended the arrangement was stable. Now Mandara slips lower into the ocean like a lamp going out in fog. Hands strain uselessly on Vasuki's body. The asuras shout at the devas. The devas shout back. Spray flies. The ocean foams around everyone's ankles and knees. The mountain keeps sinking, indifferent to blame. Its summit still catches the last light, but its roots have found nothing solid below. The first great attempt is failing. And on the white, heaving water, with evening opening above and panic beginning to crack the edges of everyone's hard-won discipline, all eyes turn toward Vishnu, because this cannot be the end of the effort. Not yet. Naturally, the mountain falls into the ocean almost immediately. There is almost a dignity to how badly it goes. One moment Mount Mandara is upright, magnificent, crusted with trees and creepers and startled birds. The next, it slips from exhausted hands, tilts once like a drunk king at the end of a feast, and drops. Straight down. You hear the sound before you understand it. Not a splash, not really. Something deeper. A drowning thunder. The white ocean heaves, folds, opens, and swallows the mountain as if it had been waiting all along. Foam leaps skyward. Clouds of spray salt the air. Though this sea has no salt in it, it smells of lotus roots crushed under water, wet stone, churned weeds, and the cool metallic scent that comes before a storm. The horizon vanishes behind a wall of white. For a moment, nobody moves. Then everyone moves at once. The devas rush forward to the edge, gold ornaments clashing against pale skin, damp with spray. The asuras shove in beside them, broad shoulders slick, eyes narrowed, each one trying not to look alarmed in front of the others. Vaizuki rears back, coils flexing, hood flaring in annoyance. His scales catch the light like wet bronze. Mandara keeps sinking. You can actually see the topmost trees go under. First the roots disappear, then the trunks, then the green trembling crowns. Birds wheel overhead in frantic circles, shrieking at the loss of their home. One monkey clings to a branch until the branch itself slides beneath the milk-white surface. Then, even the monkey is gone from sight. That is not encouraging. The devas begin calling to one another, not in neat ceremonial voices now, but in the quick, clipped tones of people watching an impossible plan become a very expensive mistake. The asuras shout over them. Everyone points. Nobody has a useful answer. And underneath all of it, the ocean keeps roaring. You are standing close enough to feel the ground shudder. Milk-white surf washes over your ankles, cold as moonlight. The hem of your garment clings to your legs. The air tastes of foam. So this is the first attempt. A borrowed mountain, a persuaded serpent, a sea full of hidden nectar, and no floor solid enough to hold any of it. Indra stares into the water as if he can glare a mountain back to the surface. His crown is flecked with spray. Agni burns lower in the wet wind. Vayu circles restlessly, trying to peer into the depths. Varuna, Lord of Waters, looks almost offended that the sea is refusing to behave. Across from them, the asuras are no calmer. Their leaders had agreed to this alliance, with the careful greed of men counting treasure before opening the chest. They had shown up for Amrita, not for this absurd business of watching a mountain vanish like a dropped pebble. Their laughter from earlier has gone quiet. Their heavy bracelets drip. Their banners hang limp in the mist. A few of them glare at the devas, as if this must somehow be their fault. To be fair, it probably looks like their fault. Vasuki twists his vast neck and stares down into the foam. Even he seems to be reconsidering his life choices. One can hardly blame him. It is not every age that you agree to become rope for a cosmic engineering project run by people who did not think to ask what happens if the mountain sinks. The smell shifts again as the waves settle for a breath. Watergrass, broken bark, cold minerals rising from below. Somewhere under all that brightness, Mandara is still falling, down through pale water, down through dimmer water, down towards silt and sleeping creatures and pressure thick as fate. The devas know what lies at the bottom of oceans, things old enough to ignore gods, things blind and patient, things with shells older than kingship. The thought passes across their faces one by one. This cannot continue. Then panic sharpens. The sea begins to swirl where the mountain sank. Not a simple whirlpool, but a slow, enormous turning. Trees, branches, uprooted vines, shattered nests, and chunks of stone spin once and vanish. Waves strike the shore in uneven bursts. The sky itself seems to lean closer. You can hear fear now, not shouted cleanly, but threaded through every order, every warning, every hurried breath. Some devas dive. They do it in flashes of gold and white, slicing into the foaming water, trying to find the mountain below. They come up again empty-handed, coughing milk-bright spray, eyes wide. The sea is too deep. The weight is too great. Mandara is not a toy lost in a courtyard pond. It is a mountain, a whole mountain, forest, caves, minerals, roots, hidden springs, all of it, alive with its own old wildness. No one pulls that back by hand. The Asuras try force anyway. Of course they do. Several charge into the surf together, muscles knotting, chains and arm rings glinting, straining as though stubbornness itself can drag stone upward. The ocean answers by nearly knocking them flat. One goes under and comes back up furious, hair plastered across his face. Another loses his grip and tumbles backward into two companions. For one beautiful instant, three terrifying asuras look like fishermen who have offended a very large and extremely impatient river. The sun is higher now. Your back already aches. Mandara groans on the shell of the great tortoise below. Vasuki is stretched so tight that every scale shines like wet bronze. Devas on one side, asuras on the other, everyone pulling, bracing, slipping, hauling again. The ocean of milk is no longer calm. It heaves. Foam climbs in white ridges taller than palace gates. Clouds of spray drift across the sky and fall back as silver rain. The sound is enormous now. Stone grinding, serpent hissing, waters folding over themselves, and underneath all of it, the deep, patient stillness of Kurma holding. You can taste saltless mist on your lips and something else too. Something bitter, sharp, wrong. At first it seems small, a stain in the water, just a darkness under the churn, like ink uncoiling through milk. Then the stain thickens. It rises in long, slow ribbons, black, blue, and oily, and the waves around it begin to hiss. Vasuki jerks. The devas nearest the serpent's breath step back, coughing into their hands. The asuras at the other end stop pulling for half a heartbeat. Eyes narrow, nostrils flare. Nobody likes that smell. It is not smoke alone. It is burnt copper and storm water, crushed herbs left too long in the sun. The breath of caves sealed for an age. A bitterness so strong it seems to scratch the inside of the throat. And then, from all that effort, the first thing the ocean offers is death. Not a beast, not a weapon, not a treasure anyone can hold up and admire. Poison, hala. It comes up all at once. The dark bloom breaks the surface and spreads in a ring around Mandara. Foam turns grey where it touches. The air wavers. Birds circling high above shudder and veer away. Fish rise, stunned, and vanish again under the smoking water. The devas had come for immortality. At this rate, they may not survive the afternoon. Panic runs fast through bright beings. Indra, who had once sat easy under jeweled banners, now covers his mouth with the edge of his cloth. Agni flares and then recoils, fire meeting something even he does not want to swallow. Vayu whips the fumes away for a moment, only to spread them farther. The asuras shout over one another, blaming, cursing, stumbling backward across slick stone and floating debris. The mountain keeps turning. That is the absurd part. Even with poison climbing into the sky, even with everyone half blind from the fumes, Mandara still rolls on Kurma's back because momentum is a stubborn thing. Once gods and demons start a project this large, it does not stop gracefully. You feel it in your teeth, that rough, endless grind. The fumes spread wider. They skim the ocean in black veils. Wherever they drift, the brightness dims. Clouds gather, but bring no relief. Heat presses down. Eyes sting. Skin prickles. Voices grow hoarse. The whole horizon seems to lean away from the center, as if the world itself would like to take one very careful step back. There is no stepping back. This poison is not content to sit in one place. It rises toward the heavens. It threatens the lower worlds. It curls around the shoulders of mountains and creeps toward forests and rivers and sleeping creatures who did absolutely nothing to deserve this particular day. You are standing at the shore of a cosmic labor gone badly wrong, and suddenly everyone has the same thought. Someone else must handle this. The Devas look upward, not to Vishnu this time. He is already in the work, below the mountain, in the shell and the stillness and the impossible support. Their minds turn elsewhere now, toward the wild northern heights, toward ash and snow and meditation so deep it can ignore entire ages, toward Shiva. The name passes through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. No long assembly, no elegant speeches. There is no breath for elegance. The Devas gather themselves and go, with Indra at the front and the rest close behind, leaving the churning to stutter and slow in their absence. Even the Asuras do not mock them much. It is difficult to be sarcastic while coughing. You move with them in imagination, over a world under threat, across the bright spaces above the sea, past cloud banks stained grey by rising fumes, toward Kailasa, where the air grows thinner and cleaner and colder with every upward span. The heat of the churning falls away behind you. Snowlight takes its place. The mountain of Shiva does not hurry for anyone. Its cliffs rise pale beneath the sun. Pines cling to ledges. Ice glitters in quiet folds. The wind there smells of stone, cedar, and clean water, newly freed from snow. Bells sound somewhere distant, soft and irregular, as if moved by hands no one sees. After the burning poison, the chill feels like mercy. Nandi stands watch. The great bull is motionless as carved moonlight, but aware, very aware. The Devas arrive in their disheveled grandeur, crowns crooked, garments scorched at the hem, faces strained. And this is not their proudest entrance. If divine dignity were a pot, someone has dropped it. They bow, quickly. Their plea pours out in one rush, the poison rising. The world's in danger, no hand able to contain it, no vessel strong enough, no refuge except him. Shiva listens. That is the first grace. He does not interrupt. He does not thunder. He does not ask for a better organized explanation, though honestly, one would be fair. He listens, ash-smeared and still, the crescent moon pale against his matted hair, the Ganga resting in his locks, serpents coiled in easy companionship around his body. Beside him is Parvati, bright and watchful. The mountain wind slips past them, carrying the scent of wildflowers hidden somewhere between rocks. You can hear the small sounds now, the flap of prayer cloth, a raven's call, the distant crack of shifting ice. And in the middle of that mountain quiet, the Devas wait as if all existence is balanced on the next breath. It is. Shiva rises. No dramatic preparation, no armor strapped on, no weapon taken up. He simply stands, and the world seems to gather itself around that movement. Then he goes, back to the ocean, back to the black fumes, back to the place where poison climbs through air that should have held only mist and moonlight. The Devas follow with relief, so intense it almost becomes dizziness. When Shiva reaches the shore, even the waves seem to hesitate. The hala hala writhes across the water in slow poisonous swells. It smokes where it touches foam. The smell is fierce enough to drive tears from the eyes. Nearby devas and asuras turn away, cloths pressed over their faces. Vasuki lifts his great head and hisses uneasily, as if meeting a rival in dreadful majesty. You are there at the edge of it, and the heat from the poison feels dry and unnatural, like the breath of a summer oven, opened too fast. Shiva steps closer. Parvati watches him. He gathers the poison, not with a cup, not with a golden jar, not with spells cast into vessels or jewels or sacrificial bowls. He takes it into his own hand, into his own power, drawing the hala together from the sea, as if night itself were being rolled into a single burning mass. The dark radiance pools before him. Everyone else retreats. He does not. Then, with the calm of someone lifting water from a stream, Shiva drinks. The worlds hold still. It should end everything. That poison is ruin made liquid. It is the first deep venom stirred up from the floor of existence. It could darken heavens, empty forests, silence rivers. Yet Shiva takes it into himself and does not let it pass farther. Parvati moves at once, swift as thought, sure as devotion. She places her hand at his throat and stops the poison there. Not into the heart, not into the belly, not into the hidden fire within. Held at the throat, contained in that narrow passage between word and breath, the blue appears, at first just a shadow beneath the skin, then deeper, richer, a dark sapphire stain glowing through ash and moonlight. His neck becomes the mark by which ages will know him. Nilakantha, the blue-throated one, the poison remains, the world remains too. A breath goes out from every chest at once. You can feel the release move through the gathered crowd, like cool water. Shoulders drop, hands unclench, eyes open again. The sky, which had seemed pinched and brittle, loosens by a fraction. Winds shift, the fumes thin, the choking bitterness begins, slowly, to retreat. No one cheers loudly. It is not that kind of moment. This is relief too great for noise. This is the kind that leaves people quiet and shining-eyed, aware they have just stood near the edge of ending and stepped back. The ocean changes, not all at once. Gradually, the blackness thins into streaks, then shreds, then memories of stain drifting away across the far water. White foam rises clean again. The churn resumes. Devas and asuras return to their places with the subdued seriousness of workers who have been reminded that the job can, in fact, destroy everyone. Nobody argues much about who holds which end now. Even pride takes a small break after apocalypse. So they pull again. The mountain turns. Kurma bears it below, patient as bedrock. Vasuki strains. The sea roars back to labor. But now something in the atmosphere has shifted. The terrible first secret is gone, and in the space it leaves behind, expectation brightens. The ocean of milk has not finished speaking. The next thing to rise is gentler, a gleam beneath the foam. A pale shape moving upward through pearled water. Then the shape breaks through, white as fresh cream, luminous in the spray. Kamadhenu, the wish-giving cow. She stands upon the waves as if they were meadow grass, serene and soft-eyed, her hide shining with a radiance that is not harsh, but nourishing. Around her hangs the scent of warm milk, crushed kusa grass, rain-damp earth, and the sweetness of barns at dawn. After poison and smoke, that smell alone could make a tired soul weep. The sages come forward in reverence. Kamadhenu is abundance made gentle, plenty without violence, offering without exhaustion. Her presence cools the mood, like shade over a courtyard. Even the asuras stare without immediately grabbing, which is frankly impressive. She passes from the churning into sacred keeping, and the waters close behind her in silver folds. Again, the rope strains. Again, the mountain grinds. Your hands can almost feel the rhythm now. Pull, brace, slide, recover. The muscles of heaven and the underworld working together because there is no other choice. Foam spatters across arms and faces. Jewelry is no longer polished. Crowns have become practical inconveniences. Several magnificent beings now look like they would very much enjoy sitting down. No one sits. Another brightness gathers. This time, it is swift and storm-white. A trunk breaks the surface first, raised high and curling. Then the broad head, the gleaming tusks, the huge ears scattered with drops like pearls. Airavata rises from the sea reborn, vast and splendid, his whiteness brighter than cloud banks under noon sun. He trumpets. The sound rolls over the waters and shakes the last faint shadows from the sky. The devas straighten instinctively. Indra's face changes when he sees the elephant, not the careless pride from earlier ages. Something more sober, more grateful. Airavata steps from foam with the strength of monsoon clouds made flesh. Water streams down his flanks. The scent around him is rain on hot dust, lotus pools after thunder, the charged sweetness of an approaching storm. You feel that sound in your ribs. He goes to Indra, and the king of the Devas lays a hand against that great white side as if touching restored fortune itself. No speeches, no boasting, only a long breath and the return of something once mishandled. The churn goes on. By now the sea seems almost eager, each revolution loosening another wonder from its hidden bed. The waters flash green, then gold, then blue-white. Strange birds wheel overhead. Conchis sound from no visible hand. Light scatters over the foam in shards. Then a tree rises. Roots first, somehow. Then the trunk, smooth and glowing, bark fragrant as sandalwood and fresh resin. Branches unfold heavy, with every blossom you have ever wanted to smell at once. Jasmine, champaka, parijata, night-blooming flowers that do not open until moonrise, and blossoms no earth garden can keep for long. Kalpavriksha, the wish-fulfilling tree. Its leaves ring softly together in the sea wind like tiny bronze bells. Every branch seems prepared to give. Fruit glows among flowers. Shade gathers under it before it has even fully emerged, as if it carries its own afternoon. The gods look up into its spreading canopy and for a moment forget their aching arms. You would too. After hours of labor, after poison and fear, and the grind of impossible work, a tree appears, promising coolness, fragrance, and the strange comfort of generosity rooted in one place. It is led away to the heavens, where gardens have been waiting for exactly this sort of entrance. The ocean is brighter now, not merely white, alive with color. The foam no longer looks exhausted. It sparkles. The air smells less of strain and more of wet lotus petals and rain-washed stone. The pull of the rope becomes almost musical. Hiss, splash, grind, breath, and then laughter comes out of the sea. Not one laugh, many. It starts like tinkle in water over smooth rock, then blooms into a whole shimmer of sound. From the dancing foam rise the apsaras, celestial women formed in beauty so fluid it almost seems they are made of the sea's delight itself. Their garments cling like mist. Their hair streams dark and perfumed. Anklets ring, bracelets flash. Every movement catches light and throws it elsewhere. The entire shoreline pauses. Even warriors forget to look stern for a moment. The apsaras emerge not as soldiers or queens, but as grace in motion, dance, song, charm, play, the dangerous sweetness that can make even disciplined minds sit down and ruin their schedules. Several devas blink too slowly. A few asuras straighten their crowns. One nearly drops his grip on Vasuki, which earns him a furious glare from his neighbor. Some things never improve. The apsaras pass into the worlds above, carrying with them music that seems to linger after they are gone. The wind feels softer. The whole company, for a few breaths, remembers that creation contains pleasure as well as peril. But the sea is not finished. A cool light begins to gather, soft at first, almost hidden by daylight. It shivers under the foam and lifts in a widening circle, silver and pale blue. The temperature changes. Heat slips backward. A hush passes over the waters. Then the moon rises, not yet in the sky, first from the churn itself, round and radiant, wet with the ocean's glow. Chandra emerges with a face like calm reflected in a still pond. His light spreads over the waves, over armor and skin and serpent scales, over the tired eyes of gods and demons alike. You feel it on your forehead, like sandal paste left in a cool shrine. After the poison's burning and the labor's heat, moonlight is almost unbearable in its kindness. The waters that had boiled now gleam. The smoke-stung air turns gentle. White spray becomes silver lace. The crescent already resting in Shiva's hair seems to answer this new fullness, and all around the ocean, the night-minded flowers begin to release their perfume, though the sun has not entirely gone. A strange hour, a beautiful one. The moon takes his place in the heavens, and the churning below continues in his blessing. Then the sea grows still in the center, not fully still. It cannot, while Mandara turns, but a stillness opens within movement, like the eye of a whirlpool. Foam folds outward, light collects there, gold at first, then rose, then a brilliance like dawn, reflected in polished ivory. Lotus fragrance floods the air, not faint, not passing. It arrives rich and complete, mingling with sandalwood, new rain, and the sweetness of blossoms after a long dry season. Heads lift all along the shore. Faces turn. Even the waves seem to bow away from the center. A lotus rises. Its petals unfold one by one, vast and blushing, jeweled with drops that shine like liquid pearls. Upon it stands Lakshmi. There are moments when noise disappears because no one dares add to what is already perfect. This is one of them. She rises from the ocean, not hurried, not startled, not claimed by any hand. Golden, serene, eyes wide and gentle, garlands upon her, light upon light around her. Every step she takes upon the lotus seems to steady the worlds. Wealth, beauty, auspiciousness, abundance, grace, none of those words are enough, and so the gathered beings simply look. You are there in that scented brightness, and the feeling is not merely admiration. It is relief, the kind that comes when harmony itself enters a troubled room. After poison, after strain, after suspicion and bargaining and smoke, Lakshmi appears, and suddenly prosperity feels less like treasure and more like balance restored. The churned sea has given not only things to possess, but a presence that makes possession seem secondary. Her glance moves over devas, asuras, sages, waters, sky. Garlands are offered. Fragrant unguents are brought. The rivers, in their subtle forms, seem to lend their purity. The elephants of the quarters raise golden vessels. Celestial music unfolds above the sea. Everywhere there is brightness, and everywhere the scent of lotuses deepening in the damp air. She chooses Vishnu. Of course she does, though no one says it aloud just then. It is simply clear in the way dawn is clear when it touches the horizon. She turns toward him, toward the one who planned, supported, descended, endured, toward the one whose steadiness has held through curse, bargain, collapse, and poison. She places herself beside him. The mood changes again. The devas glow with renewed hope. The asuras, for once, understand that some things cannot be seized by lunging. Lakshmi is not a jewel tossed into a crowd. She is favor, harmony, fortune that settles where it is rightly held. The ocean seems to sigh. Foam laps more softly against the shore. Moonlight and lotus scent mingle over the water. Vasuki lowers his massive head for a moment, resting between pulls. Mandara still turns. Yes, because there are more wonders below, and one final prize not yet risen. But now the labor is lit by something gentler. You can feel it. The heat is no longer punishing. The night breeze carries wet petals and the mineral scent of churned depths. The pale gleam of the moon lies across the moving water like silk. Airavata stands white as storm cloud foam. Kalpavriksha waits in promise. Kamadhenu has passed into sacred abundance. The Apsaras have taken laughter upward into heaven. Lakshmi has risen, and with her, grace. The Devas and Asuras grip the serpent again. They are tired beyond ordinary tiredness. Arms trembling, shoulders burning, silk ruined, pride bruised. Several immortal beings now look as if they would trade a great many principles for a comfortable mat and a cup of buttermilk. Still they pull, because the ocean has more to give, because the nectar has not yet appeared, because once you have seen poison rise and been spared, once you have watched moonlight lift from foam and fortune bloom on a lotus, it becomes impossible to stop halfway. So the great rope tightens once more. The mountain groans. The tortoise below bears all of it in silence. And under the silver gaze of the new risen moon, with lotus fragrance thick on the air and Lakshmi's brightness still shimmering over the waves, the churning goes on. After poison, jewels, moonlight, and a goddess, at last, the thing everyone came for lifts dripping from the sea. You see it before you fully understand it. A glow under the foam. A shape rising through milk-white water. Then Dhanvantari himself, dark and radiant, emerging from the churn with calm hands and an expression almost insultingly serene for someone holding the most desired object in the three worlds. In his arms rests the pot. Amrita, it shines like sunrise caught in gold. Drops slide down its curved sides and fall back into the ocean with small, bright sounds. Even the spray around it seems sweeter now. The air smells of lotus, wet shell, sandalwood, and that sharp, clean scent that comes just before rain. Every face turns, every single one. For one strange heartbeat, nobody moves. The ocean heaves softly around Mandara. Vasuki hangs in loops of exhaustion, scales slick and steaming. The devas stare. The asuras stare. Their arms are raw from pulling. Their pride is sore. Their patience, already thin, vanishes like mist. Then everyone remembers themselves and immediately forgets their manners. The first rush is ugly in a very ordinary way. Hands lunge, shoulders slam, crowns tilt sideways. Someone slips on foam and nearly takes three others down with him. Another tries to look dignified while grabbing for immortality with both hands, which is a difficult performance under the best conditions. The Asuras move faster. They surge like a dark wave around Dhanvantari and wrench the pot away before the Devas can close their fingers around it. Gold flashes, foam scatters, a roar goes up, so loud the white birds circling above the sea wheel off in alarm. Just like that, the alliance breaks, not with speeches, not with ceremony, with grabbing. You can feel the tension snap in the air like a pulled cord. The Devas recoil, stunned and furious. Their eyes go bright with panic. All that labor, all that poison, all that swallowing of pride. Beside enemies, they would rather strike than stand near. And now the nectar sits in Asura hands. The Asuras clutch it close and crowd together, suspicious already of one another. That is the delicious part. They have won the pot. And within moments, they no longer trust the companions standing elbow to elbow with them. Each one watches the others from the corner of his eye. Each one seems suddenly aware that immortality tastes much better if fewer people get any. Their breathing changes, shorter, sharper. The sea breeze carries heat from their bodies, musk from serpent rope, saltless spray from the ocean of milk, and the faint metallic scent of celestial ornaments warming under strain. You can almost hear greed as a texture now, not loud, not yet, just the dry hiss of minds calculating. Some demand the nectar be poured at once, others insist on order. A few argue that strength earned it, and those strongest should drink first. This idea, naturally, is beloved by everyone who thinks he is strongest, which is nearly all of them. Dhanvantari stands apart now, empty-handed and untroubled, as if he has delivered a physician's medicine into the middle of a monkey troop and intends to let them discover their own mistake. The Devas turn toward Vishnu, not dramatically. They do not collapse. They do not tear their hair. They simply look at him with that very particular expression of people who realize the plan worked right up until the most important moment. You know the look. It says, well, this has become a disaster. Vishnu has been watching the whole affair with eyes deep as still water. He sees the clutching fists, the swelling pride, the gathering quarrel, the way the asuras tighten around the vessel like men huddling over a fire in winter, each pretending not to push the others away. And then, as softly as moonlight changing a room, he changes. It does not happen with thunder. No drumbeat splits the sky. No flame announces it. One moment Vishnu stands there, blue and composed beside the troubled gods. The next, the shore itself seems to inhale. Mohini has arrived. Beauty is too small a word. She moves like the first curve of a river through dry land. Jewels rest against her skin, as if light has chosen to stay there. Her hips sway with effortless rhythm. Her anklets ring over the hiss of foam. Her eyes are playful, knowing, impossible to meet for long without forgetting whatever noble intention you had a moment ago. The scent changes with her. Jasmine, fresh rain on warm stone, a thread of champa drifting under the sharper smell of churned sea. Even the wind seems to soften. You are standing among gods and asuras, and all at once every warrior who was baring his teeth is trying to stand up straighter. Bellies go in, chests go out, faces that were twisted with greed smooth into what they believe are expressions of great charm. It is not their finest hour. The quarrel falters, heads turn, hands loosen from sword hilts and from the nectar pot too, though not enough to let it go. Mohini glances over the crowd, and it feels like she is amused by all of them without being cruel about it. Just a little amused, which, in fairness, they have earned. She asks what all this commotion is about, not sharply, almost lazily. The asuras, who 5 breaths ago were ready to trample one another, begin explaining themselves with sudden politeness. They tell her about the churning, the labor, the nectar, the need for fairness. They praise her beauty while trying not to sound desperate. They suggest that someone as lovely and impartial as she should divide the Amrita. This is the sort of decision people make when they are already halfway enchanted. The Devas watch in wary stillness. Mohini listens. She tilts her head. Bangles slide softly down her wrist. Then she warns them, gently, that trusting a stranger is not always wise. Her smile says she already knows they will do it anyway. And they do, The asuras place the pot in her hands, just like that. You can almost hear wisdom leaving the beach. The vessel is heavy, but she lifts it as if it weighs no more than a garland. Nectar glows at the rim. The gold reflects in her bracelets. White foam curls around her ankles as she walks to a clean stretch of shore and tells both sides to sit in orderly rows. Orderly, after all this, and because enchantment has made fools of the fierce, they obey. The devas sit where she indicates. The asuras sit where she indicates. No one wishes to offend the one now holding eternity. You find yourself almost laughing at the solemnity of it. These great beings, churners of oceans, breakers of mountains, all neatly arranged because one beautiful stranger asked them to behave. The universe contains many wonders. This is one of the funnier ones. Still, beneath the humor, danger hums. The light is changing. The moon floats pale above the churned sea. Lakshmi's fragrance still lingers in the air, but underneath it comes the smell of tired bodies, damp silk, serpent musk, and ambition. The waves slap softly at stone. Somewhere far out, Kurma remains beneath Mandara, vast and patient. Everything waits. Mohini begins to move down the line, slowly, ceremonially. She carries the pot with both hands and makes the delay itself part of the spell. A glance here, a smile there, a turn of the wrist. The asuras sit entranced, certain their turn is coming, though it somehow never arrives. She keeps them soothed with beauty and with timing, that old powerful magic of giving just enough hope to keep everyone still. Then she turns toward the devas first. A small thing, a devastating thing. The first cup goes to them. The asuras blink. Surely this is temporary, they think. A prelude, a flourish. There will be fairness in a moment. Mohini smiles, and the moment stretches. She pours again for the devas. Again, again. One by one, the gods receive the nectar. Their dimmed radiance begins to return. Shoulders straighten, eyes clear. Strength, lost under Durvasa's curse, runs back into them like fire relit in banked coals. You can almost see it. The gold of ornaments brightens, skin gleams, breath deepens. The asuras keep waiting. This is the part where enchantment becomes a trap with silk around it. No chains, no force, just the soft, impossible confidence that one's own turn must be next. Mohini never hurries. She keeps their attention moving where she wants it, with the line of her arm, the dip of her chin, the promise in her smile. And still, the nectar goes only to the devas. Not one asura drinks. A murmur starts at last, low, confused, offended. Some shift where they sit. Some narrow their eyes. Some begin, very slowly, to suspect that beauty has pickpocketed them in full daylight. But before outrage can fully rise, another figure has slipped into place. Rahu. He is clever enough to know that waiting honestly will leave him thirsty forever. So he changes his appearance and slides into the row of devas, settling himself between Surya and Chandra, the sun and the moon. He keeps his face composed. He lowers his gaze just enough. He wraps himself in borrowed belonging and sits very still. You might miss him if you were not watching closely. But Surya sees, Chandra sees. The sun misses little. The moon misses less. They recognize the intruder almost at once. Something in the edge of his shadow. Something in the hunger on his face. Something simply wrong in the rhythm of him. The devas are glowing stronger with each drop. Rahu glows like a thief holding his breath. Still, he is quick. Before anyone can stop him, Mohini reaches him in the line and tilts the vessel. A thread of Amrita pours. Rahu drinks, only one mouthful. That is all. And it is enough to change everything. The warning comes in a flash. Surya and Chandra signal the truth. Mohini's eyes sharpen. For an instant the softness falls away, and something immense looks out through beauty. Then Vishnu moves. The discus appears, not with a long wind-up, not with drama, just a bright wheel, sudden as thought, clean as lightning above still water. It crosses the air in one swift arc. Rahu's head is parted from his body before the nectar can pass below his throat. The moment is strange in its silence. No grotesque spectacle, no chaos of pain, just surprise, a falling apart, a destiny altered forever. Because the Amrita has touched his lips, the head does not fall into ending. It lives, eyes blazing, mouth still fierce, immortal now, but only in part. The body, denied the full blessing, slips away from the power that would have made it whole. The sky seems to mark the moment. You feel it on your skin, a tremor in the air, as if future nights have just been written. Rahu's head will not forget the sun who exposed him. It will not forgive the moon. And so, in ages to come, he will chase them across the heavens. Sometimes he catches them for a breath. The world below looks up and sees eclipse, shadows swallowing light, old vengeance crossing the sky in silence. But that comes later. For now, the beach erupts. The spell breaks among the Asuras all at once. Realization lands hard. They have been seated, soothed, smiled at, and magnificently deceived. Their side of the line remains dry. The Devas, now strengthened by Amrita, shine with terrible new confidence. Rage crashes through the Asura ranks. They leap up, they shout, they reach for weapons, for the pot, for anything. The neat rows dissolve immediately, which is about as much order as that arrangement was ever going to get. Sand sprays, foam flies. Someone tries to snatch the vessel and gets only a handful of air and embarrassment. Someone else barrels forward, still half-dazed by Mohini's smile, which is a poor condition in which to begin a fight. You are there on the shore when the calm ceremony tears open into struggle. The smell of jasmine is suddenly mixed with sweat, hot metal, churned mud, and the bitter sting of anger. Conches blare, armlets clash, waves break harder, as if the ocean itself has leaned in to watch the final turn. Mohini is gone. In that place stands Vishnu again, resplendent and utterly beyond confusion. The pot is no longer vulnerable. The Devas rise around him restored, the curse lifted, their strength renewed. Indra's eyes blaze. The wind around Vayu freshens, Agni burns brighter. The old confidence returns to them, but now it has edges. The Asuras charge. What follows comes like a storm after a breathless noon. The shore shakes with it. Celestial weapons flash. Cries echo over the white sea. Some fall quickly. Some flee back toward darker horizons. Some stand and are overcome by gods who, a little while ago, looked ready to collapse from weakness. Such is the power of one draught of immortality. The battle does not linger. This tale is about the turning point, and the turning point has happened already. The nectar has chosen its side, or rather, been kept for one. The Asuras lose the field. Their grasp closes on nothing. Their triumph lasted only as long as it took beauty to smile. And then it is done. Not all at once, but soon enough. The shouting thins. The waves keep coming. The beach is strewn with trampled garlands, broken bits of gold, and footprints filling slowly with shining water. Dhanvantari's work is complete. Mohini's game is complete. The Amrita is gone from danger. Above, the moon rides clear for the moment, pale and watchful. The sun leans westward in a haze of gold. Far off, the horizon glows like polished conch shell. You stand in the cooling air and feel the aftertaste of the whole impossible labor. Mountain, serpent, poison, treasure, goddess, nectar, deception. The ocean of milk, so violently troubled, begins at last to settle. Foam flattens into long silver bands. Mandara's reflection shivers and then steadies. Vasuki slips away, no doubt with stories none of the others will enjoy hearing. The breeze turns gentler. It smells now of wet lotus leaves, faint incense from the gods' offerings, and the soft mineral scent that rises when disturbed waters grow calm again. And above all of it hangs the memory of Rahu, not gone, never fully gone, ahead in the dark with unfinished hunger, a promise written into future skies. Even now, if you lift your eyes, the heavens seem larger for having made room for him. Sun and moon travel on, but not carelessly. They have an enemy now, a patient one. Below them, the devas gather themselves. Their radiance has returned. The curse is broken. Their hands no longer tremble. Indra stands taller than he did before the garland fell in dust. That lesson has cost him enough that he does not look careless now. Around him, the others breathe easier, as if a long fever has passed. The asuras retreat with bitterness in their mouths and foam at their heels. They came for immortality and left with a grievance large enough to last ages. That too will have consequences. It always does. But for this moment, the sea is quieting. You can hear the gentler sounds again, water touching stone, anklets remembered more than heard, the far cry of birds returning once the tumult fades, the hush of a universe, briefly, putting itself back in order. And somewhere above, in the path where moonlight will one day dim beneath a sudden shadow, Rahu is already waiting. The shoreline is quiet now. The foam has gone silver. So after all of that, you can feel what remains once the foam settles and the noise is gone. It is more than wonder, more than gods, serpents, mountains, and nectar bright as dawn in a golden bowl. It leaves behind a pattern in the heart, old as the first tide, and that pattern comes back later in the world of kings and cousins and war. It begins with pride. Indra had power, he had splendor, he had Airavata beneath him and the fragrance of heaven all around him. And still he lost everything over one careless moment. That is the first thing that lingers. Pride does not always arrive roaring. Sometimes it arrives distracted, casual, a hand too quick, a sacred thing treated like an ordinary thing. That is how decline begins. The devas do not lose their radiance all at once. It thins, it fades. Their confidence goes first, then their strength. That is how karma works here. Not like a hammer from the sky, but like a lamp quietly running out of oil. One act becomes a condition. One moment of arrogance changes the air around a life. You can feel how human that is. Then comes the harder lesson. Dharma is not always clean. When Vishnu gives the plan, nobody is delighted. The devas must work with the asuras, the very beings they fear and resist. They must stand shoulder to shoulder with rivals whose smiles are sharp and whose intentions are obvious. It is almost funny, in that strained cosmic way. Imagine trying to move a mountain with people who would absolutely steal your sandals if you set them down. And yet, the work cannot happen otherwise. That matters, because Dharma is not simply being pure and staying away from difficulty. Dharma is your right action in a complicated world. Sometimes it asks for distance, sometimes it asks for battle, and sometimes, uncomfortably, it asks you to cooperate with those you do not trust because the task is bigger than your dislike. That same truth waits inside the Mahabharata. Families stay in the same court long after affection has rotted. Teachers instruct students they may one day face in battle. Vows bind people to thrones they do not respect. No one gets to live in a neat world. Dharma keeps arriving muddy-footed. Then the mountain sinks, and that part is important too. Because even when the plan is divinely given, the first attempt still fails. Magnificently, the whole grand arrangement collapses straight into the sea. That is a comfort, honestly. The old storytellers knew that sacred work can begin in confusion. A true effort may still go wrong at first. The churn does not begin with elegance. It begins with strain, panic, slippage, and a great deal of celestial embarrassment. The mountain goes down. Everyone scrambles. Nothing looks promising. Then Vishnu becomes the tortoise. That is the image of support beneath chaos, hidden steadiness, the base you do not notice until everything else starts sinking. In Hindu thought, the world is not held together only by force or brilliance. It is held by what endures, by what bears weight, by what stays. In the Mahabharata, you will see that again and again. Kingdoms wobble because the inner base is weak. Families crack because there is no steady truth underneath them. And when steadiness does appear, it rarely looks flashy. It looks like patience, discipline, a promise kept, a charioteer holding the reins while the warrior trembles. Then the poison rises. This may be the heart of the whole thing. They churn for nectar, and the first gift is disaster. The dark burning halahala comes up before any treasure does, before Lakshmi, before the moon, before the shining horse and the wish-giving tree. First, poison. That is a profound truth. Stir the depths of anything, a family, a kingdom, a heart, and what rises first may be what has long been buried there. Resentment, grief, envy, fear. The work of restoration does not skip over the venom. It brings it up. And then Shiva does what only Shiva can do. He receives it. He contains it. He does not fling it outward. He does not let the worlds drown in it. He holds it in his throat and turns blue with the burden. That is not denial. It is mastery. What stays with you is that power is not only conquest. Sometimes power is containment. Sometimes the holiest act is to stop poison from spreading further. And yes, that returns in the Mahabharata too. Anger moves through that epic like wildfire. So does humiliation. So does old injury. Almost nobody can hold it safely. That is why everything burns. After poison, treasure. Lakshmi rises from the churn, not at the beginning, but after labor, danger, and endurance. That matters. Prosperity, beauty, and grace are not grabbed in haste. They emerge when the waters have been worked, when pride has been shaken, when survival itself has become uncertain. Lakshmi is not just wealth in the simple sense. She is harmony, auspiciousness, the glow that comes when life is aligned properly, in a house, in a kingdom, in a heart. And she does not remain where arrogance, disorder, and cruelty reign for long. She goes where there is balance. You can already feel the bridge to the Mahabharata there. Royal halls can glitter and still be empty of Lakshmi. A palace can be rich and already ruined. Then comes Mohini, beautiful, smiling, impossible to resist, Vishnu in the form of enchantment itself. This is where Maya enters the tale in a way people sometimes misunderstand. Maya is not just illusion in the sense of a cheap trick. It is the power of appearance, the shimmering surface that shapes what beings can see and what they cannot. The world itself has this quality. Things look solid, final, obvious. They are not always what they seem. And in this moment, Maya protects. Mohini uses beauty and charm to guide the nectar where it must go. The asuras, greedy and dazzled, surrender judgment. That belongs to the meaning of it. Illusion can mislead, yes, but divine illusion can also preserve balance when open force would fail. Wisdom is knowing the difference. You will meet that truth again later when Krishna moves through the Mahabharata, rarely in a straight line, often through strategy, timing, ambiguity, and smiles that conceal thunder. Not every righteous act looks simple from the outside. And then the final lesson. Immortality without wisdom would be a disaster. Everyone wants the nectar. Of course they do. Who would not? To live on, unaging, undefeated, unconquered. But the scramble around the Amrita shows the danger clearly. Beings full of greed, injury, vanity, and hunger are reaching for endless life without having mastered themselves. That cannot end well. The feeling beneath it is gentle but firm. Long life is not the highest blessing. Power is not the highest blessing. Even victory is not the highest blessing. What matters is alignment with Dharma, with the order that keeps life from becoming monstrous. Without that, immortality only freezes confusion in place. And that is exactly why this tale comes before the war. Because the Mahabharata brings all of these truths down from the cosmic shore into the dust of human life. Pride weakens a house from within. Necessary alliances form between people who distrust each other. Great efforts bring hidden poison to the surface. Wealth and splendor prove fragile. Maya appears not only as deception, but as the mysterious veiling that makes human beings mistake the temporary for the eternal. And again, people reach for what they want without the wisdom to carry it. That great war does not begin on the battlefield. It begins much earlier, in the same place the churning begins, in desire, wounded honor, fading judgment, and the hope that one more prize will finally make everything secure. And that is why both stories belong beside each other, because the deeper comfort is easier to feel when you have walked through both. The world is troubled. Often, gods struggle, kings fail, families break, poison rises, and still, beneath the sinking mountain, there is something steady. Still, after the venom, treasures can appear. Still, Dharma remains, even when it is difficult to see. That is the thread, tying the ocean of milk to Kurukshetra. The scale changes, the truth does not. And once you feel that, the whole old universe grows quieter, more whole. The waves do not frighten you as much when you know what they have carried before. You have seen pride bring dimness. You have seen effort bring hidden danger to the surface. You have seen that help does not always arrive in the form you expect. Sometimes it comes as a tortoise beneath the weight. Sometimes as a blue throat holding what would have ruined everything. Sometimes as patience. Sometimes as beauty. Sometimes as the hard instruction to keep pulling when your arms are already shaking. And that may be the quiet comfort in all of this. Dharma is not always a bright, straight road. Sometimes it feels like standing in foam with your hands on a serpent, wondering whether the whole plan has become absurd beyond repair. Yet the work still matters. The work still reveals what is buried. The work still changes those who stay with it. By the end of the churning, no one is quite who they were at the beginning. Not Indra, not the Devas, not even the enemies who came hungry for reward. The ocean gives nectar, yes, But before that, it gives exposure. It shows each being to itself. That is why the story settles so deeply. It tells you that the world can be troubled without being abandoned, that poison may rise without becoming the final word, that grace may appear after strain, not before it, and that what is truly sustaining is not just power, but steadiness. So when the larger human struggles of the Mahabharata begin later on, when vows tighten, tempers burn, and whole families start walking toward disaster, you already know the pattern. You have already stood at the earlier shore. You know that desire can disturb the deepest waters. You know that what rises first may be dark. You know that not everything bright should be trusted. And you know too that beneath turmoil, there can still be something large enough to bear the weight. That is what makes this opening feel so necessary. Before war, there is the ocean. Before princes, there is pride. Before Kurukshetra, there is the churn. And after all of it, what remains is not just spectacle. It is a quieter reassurance. The universe is not fragile in the way we fear. It bends, it strains, it brings up poison and treasure together. But it also remembers how to settle, how to breathe again, how to go on carrying moonlight on the water after the struggle is over. The foam lies in long white bands across the water. A moment ago, everything was grasping hands and flashing eyes and the shine of the nectar pot. Now the surface loosens, it smooths, it remembers how to be an ocean. And when the shouting fades, the ocean does what oceans always do. It breathes and it becomes quiet again. You stand at the edge of the Kshira Sagara and watch the last circles widen and disappear. The breeze is cool now. It carries lotus, wet shell, and that clean smell that comes after a storm has spent itself. Overhead, the stars have returned to their places, as if they had only leaned in for a better look. Vasuki is gone from the waterline. Mandara is no longer grinding the sea into brightness. Kurma, vast and patient below it all, has sunk back into the deep where old divine things go when their work is finished. No drumbeat announces his departure. No conch sounds. The weight simply leaves. The waters settle, that is all. So it often happens with the greatest things, with thunder while they arrive, with silence when they leave. All around, what came from the churn has already begun to find its place in the worlds. Lakshmi has gone where fortune is honored. The moon has climbed into the night, cool and pale, like a lamp newly washed. Airavata stands again in heavenly splendor, white as monsoon cloud. The Kalpa Vriksha has rooted itself where wishes grow dangerous and beautiful together. The Apsaras have gone dancing into courts where music never entirely ends. Nothing stays piled on a shoreline forever. Even miracles get sorted. You can almost feel the tiredness left behind by gods and asuras alike. The sand is torn with marks where feet dug in. The air still holds a faint tang from poison remembered, though gentler now, thinned by distance and moonlight. If you listen carefully, you can hear the small sounds returning first. The lap of water, a night bird somewhere far off, the hush of foam touching foam. After enough noise, even a little quiet feels holy. Far away, in the high still places beyond ordinary sight, Shiva remains what he became that day. Nilakantha, blue-throated. The poison did not pass downward. He held it. He kept the worlds from breaking apart with that terrible act of stillness. So even now, when people lift their minds toward mountain shrines and imagine him beneath the crescent moon, they remember that dark, bright mark at his throat. A wound that is not a wound, A danger that was stopped and kept. A reminder that some beings carry what no one else can bear. The night likes such reminders. They gleam better after dark. And above, crossing the patient sky, Rahu has not forgotten either. He cannot forget. He rises with his hungry shadow and stretches toward the moon, toward the sun, toward that lost mouthful he never truly got to keep. Sometimes he catches them for a moment. Light dims, birds go quiet. Priests look up from their fires. Children are hurried indoors. Pots are covered. Rivers seem to hold their breath. Then the light returns. Always the light returns. Rahu keeps chasing. The moon keeps slipping free. So the sky itself goes on telling what happened at the ocean. Not with speeches, with rhythm, with return. You feel it now, standing beneath that moon. The whole world is calmer, but it is not innocent. It has been stirred too deeply for that. The treasures are out. The poison has shown its face. The nectar has been guarded, snatched, nearly lost, and finally carried where it was meant to go. No one who stood on this shore leaves quite the same. Not the devas, with their regained glow, and the memory of how close they came to losing everything. Not the asuras, with salt on their lips and fury in their chests, learning that desire can make even the strong sit politely in a trap. Not the serpent, not the mountain, not even the sea. You run your toes into the cool, damp sand and feel how the earth has stopped trembling. The water leaves a thin silver film over your feet, then pulls back. Again it comes, again it withdraws. Slow, tireless, as if nothing impossible has happened here at all. There is a strange comfort in creation's old rhythms. It can survive astonishment. Time begins moving again in the ordinary way. Dawn will come. The moon will lower. Somewhere, sages will sit beneath trees and pass this memory from mouth to ear while smoke from sacrificial fires lifts straight into the morning. Somewhere, in palaces of carved stone, kings will reach for garlands, cups, weapons, promises. Somewhere, pride will puff itself up like a peacock in full sun, not yet knowing how quickly feathers can fall into dust. Somewhere, someone will think they can take what is sacred casually, and the old pattern will stir again. Not yet among the sons of Pandu, not yet in the hall of dice, not yet on the field where conches will one day shake the air of Kurukshetra. For now, those names are still unborn, folded inside the future, like seeds waiting for rain. But the road toward them has already been laid across the ages. You can feel it in the hush after the churn. The universe has practiced this motion before. Radiance, carelessness, loss, effort, danger, wonder, deception, grace, and balance earned the hard way. It has done this before. It will do it again. The ages roll forward like tide after tide. Dynasties rise, forests thicken and are cut back. Rivers shift their banks. Temples are built where once there was only wind over open ground. Cows sleep in the dust beside shrine walls, warm from the day's heat. Jasmine opens after sunset. Lamps are set afloat on dark water. Children ask why the moon sometimes disappears and why Shiva's throat is blue, and old voices answer softly while night insects sing. That memory keeps living, not only in heaven, on earth too, in clay lamps, in conch shell sound, in the cool touch of stone floors before dawn, in the smell of sandalwood and clarified butter rising together, in the hush that falls when a tale begins. You are still by the ocean of milk, but you are also already near those later worlds. You can almost hear them breathing beyond the horizon. Chariot wheels not yet carved, bows not yet strung, princes not yet named, queens not yet insulted, vows not yet sworn, all of it coming, all of it waiting. And still the ocean goes on breathing. Its white horizon glows under the moon like silk spread over an endless floor. The last restless ripples flatten. The surface turns to silver glass. Clouds move across it in slow torn shapes. A single star reflects, trembles, and becomes whole again. No one is pulling now. No one is shouting claims. No one is trying to drag immortality ashore with both hands. Only the sea. Only the sky. Only the long memory of what rose from the deep when the worlds were desperate enough to churn themselves open. If you stay a little longer, the night grows softer around you. The air cools your skin. The scent of lotus thickens near the reeds. Somewhere beyond sight, a temple bell sounds once and then lets the silence keep the rest. Above, the moon travels on. Far off, Rahu follows. And in the sacred imagination of the world, Shiva stands unchanged, blue at the throat, calm as a mountain holding midnight. The foam fades, the water stills, the ages wait their turn. And before the princes are born, before the vows and exiles and battle cries, the ancient ocean lies quiet under the stars, shining as if it remembers everything and still chooses peace.